Hello, guys. Welcome to this lesson. It's been a good journey so far, and I believe that you are following suit because very soon you're going to be doing things on your own. In the last class, we talked about operators. Today, I want to talk about variable and variable assignment and also state some subtle differences between variable, object, and vector. So please stay tuned. In the last class, I was mentioning how to assign vectors of values to objects. Okay, so this time around, I want us to clearly differentiate between variable, object, and vector. And let's go like this. We start with variable. Okay, so variable, they are actually names in which values or vectors are stored. For you to create a variable, you write a name for example, let's say class score, okay? And we're talking about class 5, or yeah, let's say class score, and you have this, um, and we want to um, make a vector, all right, create a vector. Maybe we have class 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 20, 15. Okay, so if I run this, you know how to run this, right? Control Enter, it runs it. Once the cursor is on that line, anywhere on the line, it runs it. Control Enter, and it runs. Okay, I always try to highlight and view this quickly, but if you want to bring it down, it's still fine, so that once you run this, you run the next, and you have your stuff here. Okay, so I want to dissect this single line of code and tell us the different components of this. Okay, number one, this is the name that you are storing these values in. Okay, great. So this name is what is called a variable. Remember when I just defined it earlier on, that it's what a name or whichever thing you want to call it that is used in storing values or vectors. Okay, so this is a variable. Then this component you are seeing is called vector. Okay, so you create vector by simply starting with C, and then within the comma you specify the values of the vectors. Okay, so we will deal with data types, and I will in the next lesson, and I will go detail into vectors. There are several vectors, but I just want to tell you, okay, that this part of this code is called vector, while this is called the variable. Okay, so now the object, you see that when I click, when we run this and we have this, it should be somewhere here in the, in, yeah, so here is it, is class score. You see class score, it has saved in the environment, and R has it in its memory already. So a vector is actually anything that is on the R environment, okay, that can be stored and be retrieved later. I mean an object. Yeah, it's an object, not a vector, an object. So this variable that has stored this vector is called an object. Okay, even if I write a single a number here, it can also be called an object. Is that okay? It can also be called an object. And so basically, those are the differences between variable, object, and vectors. Don't worry about this. We are going to talk about vectors so much when we are talking about our data types, and will lead us into the main statistical analysis. Let's quickly go to variable assignment. Okay. Um, Variable assignment. We have already done this, and then you specify the vectors that you want to assign to this variable name. Okay, but there are some rules that you need to follow for you to have a successful variable assignment. I'm not going to deal with all, but I'm just going to give you the basic rules that you need to follow. Number one, the name of your variable must not start with a number. Okay. For example, let's try to write this variable name. Let's try to store this very same vector and change the name of the variable. If I say 2 and I write it, I will stay unexpected symbol in to class call. Okay, so variable names don't start with numbers. Okay, but they can start with a dot. If you run this, you see that R has recognized it. Okay, so and you run it, it gives you the same value that it has been given before. So that is one rule. You cannot start a variable name with a number. You can start a variable name with a dot. Okay, and another thing, you cannot have a variable name that has space within them. Okay, variable names must not have what? Space. Must not have space in between. Okay, so that is that. Let's still do the same thing here. If I want to say to class core, what do? And I write this, all right, giving a space between class and core. What does it do? Say error, unexpected symbol in class core. Okay, so you have to bring it all the way close together. So R recognizes a variable name to be a single name, not different names. Now it has recognized it. Okay, so that is that. And one other thing is that you can have underscore between two names that make up a variable name. That is the first one I had here, okay? Class core. But you cannot have number, you cannot have, what is it, space, and you should not have dash. Instead of underscore, if I want to change the underscore to a dash, let's see what happens. See, error in class core this could not find function this. One other rule is that you can actually have, you can start your variable name with a capital letter and it goes. So R is sensitive to cases, but it doesn't restrict you from writing your variable name with any of these cases, whether upper or lower case. This is a variable, okay? A variable can store a particular type of data or vector as this has done, okay? But variable can also store data frame, okay? Data frame or other complex data structures. In as much as we have class core to store this object, all right, 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 20, 15. We can also have just a single object to be scored or to be stored in a variable name. For example, if I have class 5, the object name, I mean, the variable name cannot begin with number, but it can end with number, in such that you can name each of your variables as you create and have many variables in the R. You can name class 1, class 2, class 3, model 1, model 2, model 3. Okay, that doesn't have a problem. R doesn't have a problem with that. But if the number starts with I mean, if the variable name starts with number, then it becomes a problem. So what was I saying? If I say class 5 and I just name it 5, it stores 5 in class 5 for me. And you see that? So in its most basic form, it can store a single value. This variable can store a single value. If you remember our arrays data, here we have different columns: sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width, and species. Okay. Now this is a variable. I have stored 5 in this variable. But here, iris data set, it's a more complex data than just storing 5 in this variable, or than just storing these values in this variable. Okay, so what that means is that I can also store data frame in iris, like we mentioned in the last class. I stored iris in flower. Now, these names, these column names, are also called variable within a data frame or a data set. The column names are called also what? Variables. So you should know that variable doesn't just store only one data set or only one data point or only one object. It stores many, and within a data frame you also have variables, which are the columns. Sepal length is a variable. Sepal width is a variable. Species is also a variable. The data is made up of different variables. For example, we can create different variables and make it a data frame to become something like this. Let's make a data frame now. Um, exam score. And we have this. We have data frame dot frame dot frame. Female, or let's write gender equal to male, but you have to put them in brackets so that I will know that you are combining these and they belong to gender, male, female. Now we are going to give it scores, and scores, which means 2 and 30. But we are still going to give this a C combine, telling her to combine everything. Now, take a look at this. If we run this, object male not found. Okay, so what it's saying is that if you are writing names within a data, you have to put them in inverted commas, okay? So that R will recognize them that it is what? It is a character. Okay, so let's run this again. Now it accepts it. And we call this, you see that? Gender and score, male, female, is similar thing as what? Species and petal and petal width, okay? What I'm saying is that gender is a variable. Here, gender is a variable, score is a variable within the data frame we just created. And we stored that data frame in an overall variable called exam score. This is how you store data, and you manipulate your way through storing data successfully in R.